Hi, it's John here. This is my third rant that's going to be on the income tax and the effects that comprehensive tax reform would have on lobbying. Does everyone realize that the tax code is over 75,000 pages? As a matter of fact, there are 3.8 million words in the tax code. It is 6.5 times larger than the length of War and Peace. Now, if anybody's ever read War and Peace or Moby Dick, you realize these are long books and you can't comprehend every word of it. And our tax code is 6.5 times larger than that. $3.8 million words. In the 112th Congress, which was 2010 and 2011, which was the last figures I could find, $773 million was reported that lobbyists got. So, in other words, it's a $773 million industry to lobby the federal government and Congress. In that, they were involved, those lobbyists that year were involved in 1,454 bills, and they represented 2,221 organizations. 46% of all that lobbying had to do with the tax code. Reforming the tax code takes care of about half the lobbyists in Washington. Knocks most of them right out. And the Democrats claim when they talk about reforming the tax code, they want to just raise the taxes on corporations. Well, we need a progressive income tax because that's how the poor are protected. Well, that's nonsense because other proposals that do away with the tax code basically have nothing to do with welfare, Social Security. It's just a matter of how we raise the money. So the poor don't get hurt, and neither do the seniors by changing the tax code. Who gets hurt are the corporations spending $773 million, affecting 1,454 bills, and representing 2,221 organizations. That's who gets eliminated in all this nonsense. And the Republicans, and so the poor aren't hurt at all, but they keep claiming it is, and that, if we raise the taxes on the rich, that'll be, we'll have it. That's not going to work. Everybody knows it's not going to work. Plus, it doesn't take care of the problem, which is people still getting carve-outs. So let's say you raise the effective rate on business to 75%, but they still get carve-outs of 65% of it. They're still paying 10% or 15% or 16% or 17.6%, which is about what they're paying right now as an effective tax rate the time they get done with their 3.8 million words of deductions. It's nonsense. All it does is perpetuate this thing, because what the Democrats really want to perpetuate is class warfare. The poor versus the rich. The money is spreading out and the rich are getting richer. Well, hell yeah, they're getting richer. They got 3.8 million words of tax deductions. The only way to get rid of it is to kill this thing. And the Republicans, they come out with even crazier things. We're going to go from 5 categories of taxation on the corporate level to 3. And all the lobbying, everything else will just immediately eliminate it. And magically, this will all change how business is done in America and how it will be so wonderful for everybody. Another bunch of nonsense. All these guys do is produce as much nonsense as they can to keep everybody at odds at each other. This is an important issue, and it's an important issue because the middle class in America needs to stand up and say, look, we all want a tax code that everybody understands. And that means we understand it. And there isn't a middle class person in America that understands the 3.8 million word tax code in America. As a matter of fact, I'd say there probably isn't a person in America that understands all 3.8 million words of the tax code of the United States. In 1986, we passed the last major tax bill. And since that tax bill passed, between 86 and 2012, there were, let me look at my figures here, there was 15,000 changes to the tax code between then and 2012. That meant there were 2 changes every day to the tax code. That's unbelievable. That's frigging unbelievable that we have a tax code that is so complex that we spend $775 million so that we can get 2 changes a day so we can affect the bottom line of corporations. This is ridiculous. And this doesn't even count what I ranted on the last time, which is the cost of filing all this nonsense and trying to understand this stuff. It's ridiculous. The last major reform of the tax bill was done in 2004, and it was called the American Jobs Creation Act. And you know what The Economist magazine deemed that thing to be called? They called it the No Lobbyists Left Behind Act, because that's what it did. Every lobbyist get together. There will be no comprehensive tax reform in this country if it's left up to, if we continue to raise the income tax. And the reason why is that when you start to look at diagrams and charts of 15, 18 different areas, such as gas and electric utilities, major oil and gas producers, computer manufacturing services, farm organizations, cooperatives, pharmaceutical manufacturing, computer software, real estate developers, and subdivision. And you go on and on and on. They're all interrelated on how they're going to get tax deductions out of this tax code. And the whole lobbying effort, or at least 50% of it, is geared toward making this happen. The only way to stop all this nonsense, the only way to put an end to the whole thing, is to go to some sort of fair tax plan, which, by the way, has been graded by the CBO, or a fair and flat tax plan, graded by the CBO. All these are revenue neutral, and now there's people coming out with flat tax plans, which are also revenue neutral. But the problem with the flat tax plan is by itself is that it leaves all the doors open for the lobbyists to come in and get the bill changed 2 times a day for the next 20 years after they reform it. We in America have got to stand up, and if middle class is going to stand up, it's going to be on this issue. We got to stand up and tell Congress and the president and the senators and the corporations and the lobbyists, bullshit. We're done with it. We're going to something simple, something we all understand, and it will work. And the people that are telling you it won't work are all being paid somehow, some way off this nonsense that we're currently running. And that's my rant for the day.